Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
So what did we think to Mexico then? Was it boring like it always was?
I think it was pretty boring.
I would go with an exceeds expectations for
That's
me.
fine. That's fair.
That is a Hogwarts grade.
because it was more exciting than Mexico usually is, but I don't believe it was exciting as some people are making it out to be.
It wasn't like a super exciting race. No, it wasn't like the best race of the season.
But I
it
think
was
it was just the perfect example of how, like 99% of Crofty's commentary is talking about how there might be an overtake in 5 laps.
Yeah, but 99% of Crofty's commentary is him not knowing which Toro Rosso is which.
This is
Correct.
true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Talking of Toro Rosso, Moose Craft hot dogs?
Is this actually a thing? Are we sure about this? Because I tried Googling this and I find zero evidence.
All I found was on...
I thought it was booze.
Moose Craft is a cider, yeah.
Yeah.
It came with Albon and then literally one race later they fucked Albon off up the road.
Yeah.
Now Moose Craft is stuck with Pierre Gasly as their poster boy.
And Pierre Gasly did go to Thailand to do some promo work.
It was like an inappropriate amount for not the Thai driver as well. He met
Yeah.
their prime minister. He went to the Thai MotoGP. He went everywhere.
apparently they only registered the trademark at the end of September, and from what I could tell on something on Reddit, so it may or may not be bollocks. Chances are it probably is.
Sorry, bollocks.
Was it a
It's-
subreddit?
It was the F1 subreddit.
Definitely bollocks.
It's to get round advertising restrictions in the US because Gasly is too young to advertise booze. So they said, we can make hot dogs as well. We'll form a company. So they registered a trademark for Moose Craft hot dogs.
Because there was that thing, wasn't there, that the Williams drivers, when they were sponsored by Martini, had to be older than 25.
Yes, they
Yeah.
had to have
For the
one,
global
didn't
branding
they? Yeah.
to work, yeah.
Because UK laws say you can't advertise alcohol if you're under 25, which is why when Kubica was the test driver last year, when they had 2 under 25 drivers, they wheeled him out quite a bit with the Martini branding all over him because he had to be...
Yeah, yeah.
Brand ambassador.
Albon is not over 25.
Albon's 25.
Is he actually
I think he's
25?
25, yeah.
I thought he was 23.
Or maybe, I don't know, I thought it was 25. I might be totally wrong.
But yeah,
He's
apparently,
number 23.
That might be where I'm just getting confused.
but yeah, apparently it's to get round the fact that they're advertising the brand in America with somebody that's too young, so they are just advertising Moose Craft things, and they've settled on hot dogs because apparently they're Texan.
Okay.
Great.
It could have been that on Moose Craft, cows, rifles.
Very
Alexander
strange.
Albon
Very,
is
very
23.
strange.
Wow,
And
see.
his date of birth is the 23rd of March.
And he is also
And he
number
is
23.
race number 23. 23 is big for him.
Yes, it is.
So, let's look back at the race.
Go on then.
Williams. Oh no, hang on.
I didn't put Williams
You
first.
didn't. You put McLaren first.
I did put McLaren first. Because I think that out of everybody, they went backwards more than anyone else.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Shitty pit stop.
Yeah.
And then,
then-
terrible pace on the hard tyres.
If
And then
Lando has
shitty
any luck
strategy.
at all, it's awful.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I've absolutely screwed him up by supporting him. I got many messages about this during the race. Many messages.
Dan wasted 25 pence on a McLaren podium.
Can you stop supporting Lando? Can't you just support your cousin George Russell? These were to name a few.
Yeah,
Was that second one? Did that come from a certain Robert Kubica?
Like he's got the ability to text and drive.
Who does he think he is? Santino Ferrucci. Yeah, and a nightmare pit stop for Lando. Amongst other, there was a lot of bad pit stops.
Do you reckon
There's
it's
a-
altitude? Do you reckon altitude fucks with the guns?
Or just the mechanics' heads in general?
Possible.
I think there was a lot of sickness as well going around, wasn't there?
There was 150 of the paddock
Yeah.
staff across the teams were sick.
Other things to remember is it's hot as fuck.
Yeah. Doesn't help.
Wasn't too hot leading up to the race because
It was still 33 degrees to be in all that gear.
Sean was there sending weather reports saying it's only 20 degrees. It feels like an English summer's day. So
Yeah.
Cheers to the bloke who now lives in sort of the hot end of
Yeah,
California.
exactly. But but don't forget they've got all the fire retardant stuff on as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's
Yeah,
not
that's not going to help.
no.
At altitude as well, that's
Yeah.
not going to help at all.
No.
I mean, we nearly had Pierre Gasly dropping out before qualifying and being replaced by Esteban Gutierrez, which would have guaranteed an 11th place for Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, they did get one, but we'll get onto that later, I
Yeah.
suppose.
But that would have been a genuine 11th. So anyway, yeah, McLaren, nightmare pit stop for Lando, buggered his race up, and then they told him to, what was it, go out and do a mega stint and show what we could have done.
And then the hard tyres were awful on the McLaren, as Carlos Sainz found out,
Yeah.
who just went backwards.
Yes.
Pirelli said that the hard tyres would be good for 50 laps. He got 25 from his.
And they were ruined.
Possibly less before they actually fell off the proverbial cliff.
I think it took them a long time to get up to temperature, and then they didn't stay in the operating window, and then they burned out. They literally did what we've been used to seeing Haas doing recently.
Yeah.
Definitely some homework needed for McLaren. Like
Yeah, I mean, Sainz, started, I want to say 8th, was it? 7th or 8th?
something like that.
7th. Bottas
Seventh.
was 6th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seventh.
so I think, started 7th, finished 13th.
And
then-
Norris started 8th and didn't finish because they retired him because he wasn't making any headway on those hard
And
tyres.
they had really good pace as well. You know, at the beginning, they looked pretty good on
Yeah.
the softs.
Yeah.
Should have gone soft, medium.
There
Still
might
might not
have
have
been
made
him with a chance at the back end of the points with that strategy, but yeah, it just didn't work. Bit of a blip on the record for this year.
Yeah.
It's rare. We don't talk about McLaren first that much anymore.
No,
we
I-
used to talk about them first all the time.
I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years.
Blimey.
GP2 tyres. Now it's Williams. Ugh.
It was just another Williams weekend. I actually don't think it was a bad weekend for Williams because they were on par with Haas.
They did
George
all right.
Russell was on par with Haas.
Well,
They did okay.
Kubica
Kubica
had
was
a
a million
puncture
miles.
late on. He
Yeah.
was ahead of Grosjean until quite late on.
And he was ahead of Russell for most of the race.
Yeah, they had a good battle as well.
Yeah.
Something happened at the beginning which
To
put
Russell,
Russell.
yeah, because I noticed it
Russell
was-
and Grosjean went backwards.
Yeah, I think they had it coming together because at one point, Raikkonen was on the inside. Russell was trying to get Raikkonen, and there was a Haas there. And
There's always a Haas.
Yeah, but if you've already got two cars there and a Haas on the outside, that Haas is hitting somebody. So I've got a funny feeling that Russell and Grosjean might have had a clout.
Yeah, because very early on, as I think as you noticed it, Paul, Grosjean was right at the back of the race, and Russell
Just
was
as the virtual safety car came out, and we were all actually convinced that it was Grosjean that had caused the virtual safety
because
car.
he was
Yeah.
at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And quite a way off, like 10 seconds back before
Yeah.
half a lap.
Yeah, as it turned out, the VSC was for debris from Max's car.
And everybody else who had a little coming together
There
at the
was,
beginning.
there was
There were a
lots,
few little skirmishes,
lots of
weren't there?
bumps and shunts at the start. I mean, obviously, we'll get to the main ones further down, but
But yeah, Williams, we actually saw them having an on-track actual fight before the leaders came through for the second time.
This is why I think there's something wrong with Russell's car.
Well, no, Russell still finished the race a good, what was it, 2 places and a good 12 seconds ahead of Kubica.
Yeah, but Kubica had
he had that
pit
puncture.
stop.
Yeah,
he had
sorry,
it
yeah.
was a slow puncture that he got because we thought that he'd run over some debris from the last.
Yeah, that's a
something.
good point.
Yeah. But there was so, I mean, like Russell was like a second and a half quicker than Kubica in qualifying, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about
massive.
it was about 1.3. It was just absolutely fucking huge.
Yeah, which we saw in Hungary as well, didn't we? When Russell put in what looked at the time like it could have been a phenomenal lap to get him out of Q1. But he missed out by a couple of hundredths. But in this case, Russell was still qualifying right near the back with Kubica behind him, and just the gap between 19th and 20th was massive.
Russell
Yeah,
was
huge.
closer to both Hasses than Kubica was to him,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is an
yeah.
encouraging sign. Do you know what? I think Kubica's actually just checked out. He's now
Well, he knows he's not got.
he's now completely full.
The thing is, he was
I
racing
don't
there.
think because I don't think he's doing any worse than he's done all year.
I think he is. I think he's just.
He was racing on the Sunday, and he got a little bit racy at some points, but he did finish last of all the finishers.
He's just not a Formula One driver anymore. That's all it is.
Yeah, I just think with all the retiring him early, and I mean his head was pretty low to begin with because it would be in that car if you were at his stage of your career, and I think it's dropped even further. And it's just I'm just going to turn up, I'm going to sit in the car, I'm going to press the go pedal, and maybe I'll turn it left and right when it needs it.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I personally don't think he's doing any worse than he has done all year. Like,
I don't know. He's coming across as Mardia in interviews.
He said after the race that the car wasn't as bad as it was on Saturday.
Well,
Which
there's
I
an
don't know
improvement.
how much of
he
a...
wasn't a second and a half behind George Russell.
yeah.
That's probably the best you can say. Right, Alpha then.
Well, I kind of put Alpha and Haas in the same kind of bracket. The reason I put Alpha first is because Raikkonen didn't finish.
Yeah, when they brought Kimi into DNF. Did they actually say why? Because I didn't see anything in the end.
No,
of it.
I didn't say
I don't
anything.
Why they brought
recall.
him in.
He had a couple of little knocks here and there, didn't he, Kimi Raikkonen?
Yeah.
One at the beginning and then one a little bit further on in the race. Can't think who that was with. That might have been Kubica, actually, that he had a little bit of a knock with.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't. Maybe it's something to do with one of those. Maybe it's just a case of we're on the limit and we don't want to get any penalties towards the end of the year. A couple of points could be really crucial for us towards the end of the season. So.
Alpha have quietly turned into one of the disappointments of the year, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they started off. Remember preseason, we thought, wow, they've gone like
Could be best of the rest behind Ferrari.
yeah, super different with
Yeah.
that front wing, and it was kind of the same as Ferrari, although they haven't been able to develop the car as much as Ferrari have.
It
Budget
very much felt
constraints.
like yesterday, ignoring McLaren's issues, that there is a different level for Alpha, Haas, and Williams.
Yeah.
Like
So
they're
Formula-
now in
Formula
like a third
1.6.
tier.
Yeah.
They're in a different group fighting for.
Yeah,
The
well, it always
scraps.
used to be Caterham, Marussia, and HRT, didn't it? Right at the back, and then you'd have like Toro Rosso, Williams, and someone else, Sauber usually. You used to get tiers, didn't you? In Formula, you could visibly see like three or
I
four
find it
different
odd
tiers.
though, because I mean,
Because a lot of this year, though, the midfield pack's been quite close.
yeah, but you've got Williams who have just been pretty fucked from the get go. You know, this year, and I kind of don't think there's any excuse for teams like Haas and Alpha to be fallen back towards them. You know, I can appreciate them falling off maybe some of the other mid pack guys, but to not just be falling away from the mid pack, but especially Haas going back towards the Williams,
Yeah.
seems fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean, after was it Q1? Was it after Q1 when both Hasses went out? The shot, the slow motion replay. I don't know if anybody else spotted it. Of Gunter Steiner shaking his head.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I don't know why we needed a slow motion replay of it, or maybe it was just a live action replay. and
'Cause
he
I
was
feed
just
on
shaking
misery.
his head
Slow.
really slowly. But the
In time with the car.
they just haven't understood their problems, have they at all?
Which is worrying.
Yeah, Alpha haven't developed as much as we hoped they would throughout the year, and much like Haas, they've slowly fallen backwards, as Sean pointed out. Then they've kind of almost become Williams bait.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like something for Williams to aim for.
I wouldn't be surprised before the end of the year if George Russell outqualifies a Haas.
Possible.
I
Or
don't.
Lance Stroll.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Stroll.
There is that.
Officially an overheating problem for Raikkonen, by the way.
Oh, overheating problem. That was
Overheating,
the
yes.
result of your.
Quick little
Quick
Google
Googling.
there, yes.
I'm just looking up last year's results because, from what I remember, Haas were pretty clown shoes.
Haas have
last
like
year.
1 points finish in the entire history of Haas at the Mexican Grand Prix. They do not get on with it.
Yeah, last year they qualified 16th and 18th. So
I imagine they're going to go really well this year then.
and finished 15th and 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, slightly better than this year then, the 15th and 17th.
Yeah,
Big
but there were 4
improvement.
retirements last year instead of the 3 this year.
But what happened with didn't Grosjean say something to a grid kid as he was walking off the grid?
Oh, something like that, yeah.
He said that his car was crap.
Great.
to one of the grid kids.
He was caught. He was overheard by somebody saying, oh, "I'm not going to." No, car's terrible.
Yeah, thank you, Michael Incognito, for sending that one through to us. We missed that.
That's a bit. I like the idea that when the grid kid got presented with Grosjean, he went, "Oh, fucking hell!" I said, "No, it's not my fault. My car's shit. I'm a world champion in the making. I promise."
Yeah.
I was a world champion in GP2 many years ago. Yeah, so I mean, when the drivers are admitting that the car's crap, I mean, there were pants last year. They weren't expecting anything this year. Well, they got exactly what they expected. I mean,
It's not a great warm up for their home race, is it? Let's
The
be
car
honest.
wasn't bad last year, though. It was a mid-grid car. It fell away towards the end of the season, didn't it? But at the beginning of the
Haas
year, it was
always
pretty
do.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, Haas always do fall away. I mean, they'll always look good in Australia, and then, well, apart from when they look like wankers.
Of course.
yeah.
Well, it's just been a catalogue of errors for them, hasn't it? Because for everything from sponsorship to the actual car and working out what the problems is.
Yeah.
It's
How do the tyres work? How do we get the tyres on?
yeah, it's it's a real shame. It is just a real shame for them.
Yeah, apparently,
It's not a shame for Netflix.
Grosjean and K-Mag are going to be driving a Stuart Haas NASCAR around circuit of the Americas this week. That's going to end
Oh, well, one of them are
isn't it?
dead. That's it. Well, it looks like we are going to get a new Haas driver next year.
Yeah, apparently they're doing a few laps each in one of the Stuart
hang on,
Haas
a few
NASCARs.
laps each. Oh, not at the same time.
No, at the same time with NASCAR driver Tony Stewart, who apparently is so good he's married 3 of his cousins in the passenger seat.
I mean, that's right up there on the danger level scale. That's right up there with walking down a lane in like an inner city and finding a syringe on the floor and going, "Oh, handy! I need to take my insulin." That's the same level of danger.
I was wondering where that one was going for a second, I've got to admit.
Here's a question for you. Why do they think Tony Stewart's going to be any good round circuit of the Americas in NASCAR when all they do is turn left?
Because he's in the passenger seat, so he can say,
Whoa, that was a right turn!
that's the one.
I only do that when I start sliding the wrong way.
It's like it ends up in a heap, like with his head in his hands. I don't understand what happened. I went to turn. There was a fucking wall in the way. Why would you put a wall where you turn?
I was watching. It was only sort of a short clip of one of the big crashes in one of the NASCAR races a couple of weeks ago, and they made no big deal of the fact that a tyre bounced off a car, bounced across the track, and landed in someone's RV compound.
You've lost that tyre. That's on the fire now.
There will be steaks cooking on that within minutes.
Yeah.
That down home Goodyear seasoning.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I hope no one was seriously injured in that accident.
No. Nobody was hurt, but 3 people got food poisoning.
Tell you what, like, you can't. Well, you can say what you want about Haas, but you can't take away their ability to give us comic relief.
Yeah. Yeah. There is that.
They have been the comedy team for. I mean, everyone says that American comedy is unsophisticated. No bollocks. This is great. This is up there with Frasier.
Well, I did like their Instagram post that we're coming home, and then put K-Mag, Gunter Steiner, and Roman Grosjean up with an American flag behind them. None of them are
No.
American.
The only thing that could go better is if the engine went.
That would involve tuning it. Never gonna happen. Move on to some real teams that did some things.
Well, a driver that did some things.
A driver that did some things who also has to put up with partnering Lance Stroll. Yeah, Perez finished 7th in his home race, breaks the run of 12th places.
Yeah,
Best of the rest.
It was a really good run for Perez at his home Grand Prix. He had a decent race.
Low key, maybe driver of the day.
Yeah,
Good battle with Ricardo as well, and
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
off best in that one, which not many people do.
No.
Just to check, Renault haven't been disqualified yet, have they, for anything?
Don't believe there's been any protest against Renault
Right, that's okay.
so far.
Yeah, we'll talk about that either when we get to Renault or afterwards. Because
Another Q1 exit for Lance Stroll.
of course it was
Who's
Q1.
shocked? Not me.
And nobody was shocked by it, but the team radio after his exit in Q1, it's the same excuse every week. Oh, it was so close.
It's really not, though, is it? If it was close, occasionally you would be on the other side.
Well, he was only actually 0.008 of a second off this time. So, yes, it was close.
It was close, but not close to his teammate. And he
Yeah.
talks.
That's my
That's
point.
the
yeah.
issue.
Yeah, he talks like he hasn't got a teammate that's a second ahead of him somewhere down
He
the
hasn't.
road.
He's got staff.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, I suppose so. But it's such a waste. I mean, I've been thinking about this. I can't think, even though he's better than maybe
Grosjean?
Carter Cahan, for instance, something like that.
Jesus.
You know, but
Of all the drivers,
You wouldn't go with like Max Chilton or someone.
oh no,
you had to go-
Max Chilton's a better driver
Oh,
than
good Lord.
Stroll. I half think if Chilton had a go in a proper car, he'd have probably had another year or two and been a Magnussen level Formula One driver.
I-
Wow,
He'd have- he'd
those
have-
heady heights of
He'd have
Magnussen.
finished slower, faster.
I wish to interject and remind Lee of the running joke that was on the podcast when Max Chilton was in
Good
Formula
day
1.
to you, sir.
Pit motoring. Oh, I'm in your way, sir. Let me just pull over for you.
No, but like, I don't
Lovely
think.
Sunday drive, isn't it?
I don't think he's the
Isn't
worst driver
Montreal
that's ever
wonderful?
come through. He's not the worst driver that's ever come into Formula One.
No.
And
Well, no,
let's-
we all know that's Taki Inui.
Ooh, I'll see Taki Inu in Reiju and Ukio Katayama.
No, Taki Inui actually
Katayama.
managed to get hit by the safety car twice while he wasn't in the car.
Katayama got points.
He did get points.
Roberto Meri, a driver so good he ended up back in F2.
Antonio Liuzzi.
Driver steward Antonio Liuzzi occasionally these days.
And let's
See, I'm looking at the 90s and I'm thinking like Roberto Moreno,
Esteban Tuero.
Giovanni
good name though.
Lavaggi.
Tuera's a good name.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good name, that
Yeah.
one.
Giovanni Lavaggi, come on.
Yeah.
Although it does sound like some sort of twisty chocolate bar.
Yeah, can you from Cadbury's, the Esteban Tuero.
Gaston killed the dog.
What?
Oh, you missed that one. Gaston Mazarcane. Mazarcane translates as kill the dog.
Oh, I see.
Does it?
Yes.
That seems awfully harsh.
Like German footballer Sebastian Schweinsteiger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pig climber.
Or
Pig climber.
Pig.
yeah.
Climber.
Or guy at the front.
Who's that?
Guido
I've heard
Guido
of-
van der
yeah,
Garde.
yeah, I've heard that one before.
Anyway,
But anyway, Lance Stroll isn't the worst Formula One driver
talking of
ever.
nominative determinism, Lance Stroll.
No, but given the car he's in, I think this is the issue. Given the car he's in, it's a bigger waste than what it usually is when we see a shit driver in Formula One.
Yeah.
We're used to seeing bad drivers in like the back end teams that are struggling for money and stuff like
Like
that.
Lance Stroll in a Williams.
Yeah, but we're not. I mean, next year, for instance, now that they've got some funding and stuff behind them, I expect them to move a couple of spots up the grid.
They'd do well to rehire Hulkenberg, wouldn't they?
Perez will move a couple of spots up the grid,
But, yeah.
and Stroll won't.
No, especially if you keep starting in Q1
Yeah.
all of the time. I mean, I think Perez has scraped Q3 a couple of times, but it's, if Perez is always getting into Q2 and Stroll isn't,
Yeah.
that
What is it?
instant disadvantage for him.
Got through to Q2 twice this season.
Not sure.
That sounds
Not sure.
generous. Definitely once. Not
Twice
sure
does
about
sound
twice.
generous,
It does sound
yeah.
a bit keen, doesn't it?
But
Maybe did he do Monza? Did he
Oh.
get through in Monza? Because
He likes Monza,
he
doesn't
likes
he?
Monza.
Yeah.
as
He likes
well.
Monza. He likes Baku, and he likes Canada.
Places where he doesn't have to turn
See,
too
that's
much.
the thing. It's not Stroll's fault. There are too many races in Formula One in different countries.
It's Herman Tilke's fault.
Yeah, five races at each one of those three tracks, and he would be a genuine mid-grid contender.
Yeah.
Blame calendars.
I thought you said,
I thought it was blame Canada.
that's what I was just about to say. Yeah. So yeah, disappointing for Stroll, but really good race for Perez, I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, you get there's the old Schumacher quote, isn't it? Your home crowd gives you an extra tenth. Proved it this time. There was some serious cheering going on every time Perez did something.
Yeah,
Good.
it was proper
Yeah,
raw,
good
wasn't
noise.
it?
Yeah.
At one
Good.
point?
In that
It was
baseball
great.
section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a good race, and the racing point is it's looking sporty, it's looking good.
Perez's racing
in
point.
in the right hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I say, like you say, if they are I mean, they are spending a fortune on upgrading all the facilities and upgrading the team. You know, I think we can expect 50% of great things from them.
Yeah, I mean,
The only worry is, and we keep saying this every time, if Lance Stroll carries on being completely shit, is a large chunk of money and funding going to be taken out of that team, and
I
then all of
think
a
so.
sudden,
No,
bang,
Lance
they're
Stroll
where
will
they were
be
before.
Lance Stroll will be out of the team.
Yeah,
do
but
you
I-
think Lawrence Stroll would actually get rid of his own son and still carry on
I don't-
funding the team?
I don't think so. I think he'd pull out the team, because if Lawrence Stroll was that interested in being involved in Formula One, he would have already been involved in Formula One. You know, he's got the capital to invest in it. He's not, for my money, getting anything from it, because we expected to see like Tommy Hilfiger emblazoned all over the car, didn't we?
Yeah,
George Russell in Tommy Hilfiger stuff doing wrestling with Mexican wrestler this weekend.
Oh, was he?
There's Tommy Hilfiger stuff on the grid. It's just not on
Well, they
those
used
drivers.
to do all the Ferrari gear, didn't they? Tommy Hilfiger.
Lewis
They now
has
do
his
Mercedes.
range as
Oh,
well,
is it
doesn't
that?
he?
That'll be it then. That'll be why
George.
Russell had it all on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't see him staying in the sport unless it's a Anthony Hamilton type situation. Like, you know, when he stopped managing Lewis and then started managing De Rister, and he's been bobbing around other things in the paddock because he obviously got his foot in the door
Yeah.
and the bug to stay in the paddock.
Yeah.
This is what's happened with Nicholas Latifi's dad, because he bought, was it 10% of McLaren?
Yeah.
He has no interest in funding Nicholas Latifi's career.
no.
He just has got into it because his son's into it and has caught the interest and
Seems
sees it as a...
Yeah, I mean, the Latifi McLaren thing, could we see that being the Latifi Williams thing before much longer? With his dad putting money into Latifi's dad putting money into Williams, if Nicholas Latifi does get the seat there, which we think he's going to do.
Yeah.
But they can't announce it obviously until the end of the season when he's got the official.
I think he's got an
Super license
FP1
points.
again this week, I think.
I know we
He
don't.
did FP1 on Friday.
He did, yeah.
I know we don't do the reading of the comments on this, but I just caught out the corner of my eye.
Yeah,
and
so
I'm
did
gonna
I.
say-
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for sending us a screen grab of that, and hello to everyone that is watching in various airports.
What was I going to say?
Yes.
I was going to say hi, Sean, because he's just dropped into the chat.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what we've just seen as well. Where were we?
Toro Rosso are next.
Toro Rosso. Sorry, I got shunted out of my running order.
Hey.
Hey, Kvyat, the torpedo's back.
Yay.
It's
That
Was
was...
It was an
unnecessary
It was
move.
it was a small tree.
nobody has to my knowledge, and there will be somebody sat in an airport lounge about to correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm glad we tend not to read the comments.
Yeah.
Nobody has passed in the current layout of Mexico City going into that last corner. I don't think anybody's made a pass there ever. I can't think of one.
No, I
There's
can't
a
recall.
couple going into the baseball stadium, couple maybe at that hairpin. We saw one at the weekend, but I don't know that anybody's made a successful pass on the inside of that final turn.
Yeah.
Why Kvyat thought he could do it on Hulkenberg before the DRS zone? He would have been much better just waiting for the DRS zone and then seeing if he could get Hulkenberg into turn one.
Because
Last
that
lap,
was
wasn't
the
it?
last lap.
Yeah.
And
No,
the DRS zone starts after the finish line.
No, they still had one more lap to go.
No, Lewis had already crossed the line.
You hadn't
Yeah.
crossed the line by the point they
No,
contacted.
that was the last lap.
Yeah, they were a
Yeah.
lap down. They were on their last
Hulkenberg
lap.
got to the finish line and then pulled in at the pit exit.
Yeah, Hulkenberg got to the finish line and pulled in, but then dropped places because other cars went past him.
No, he dropped two.
No,
He dropped
dropped-
2 places because both Toro Rossos went past him, and then crossed the finish
Because
line.
he started his last lap. That wasn't their last lap. That's what I'm saying.
No, it was. They'd
It
been lapped by
was.
that point.
I'm not sure.
Because he was classified 11th because obviously Kvyat punted him out the way and Gasly went through. And then he moved back up to 10th because of Kvyat's time penalty, but 12th and 13th and so on and so forth did not go past him.
Right, okay.
So no, that was the last lap. So he couldn't
Fair
have
enough.
waited for the DRS zone because that would have been his cool down
It
lap.
wasn't
My
coming.
mistake.
But yeah, bit of a. It was kind of a all or nothing one from Kvyat, and yeah, he got
Too much.
All or nothing, and
he got nothing.
He got nothing.
He got basically nothing.
Such a shame for Hulk, though. Such a shame.
Yeah. Gasly was the winner out of that.
Yeah.
As it turned out.
Toro Rosso got ninth place that they shouldn't have got. It was not the driver that
Did
finished in
Kvyat
ninth.
get
but-
any penalty?
Yes.
Yeah,
Kvyat
yeah.
finished ninth, got a 10-second penalty, so got demoted to 11th.
Right.
But because Gasly passed Hulkenberg, Gasly
Gasly
gets
got ninth.
ninth.
Gasly got ninth.
So Toro Rosso still got the points.
Yeah, Toro Rosso were the winners.
Wow.
Is that their
Maths.
new technique?
maybe.
Another fairly solid performance for Gasly. He's doing much.
Unlike his bowels.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Pierre Gasly was one of the victims of the illness that was going around the paddock.
Yeah.
One of the few drivers I think who actually fell victim to it. It was mainly crew, I think,
Yeah.
like mechanics and other staff. But
And the guy whose name I can never remember that does the podium announcements.
Yes. I
Probably
can't
something-
remember his
something to
name,
do with
but
the
yes.
fact that Red Bull keep their junior drivers in hutches.
Should be hermetically sealed.
Just like
yeah.
just like a big wall in one of the garages with little water
Does this mean
bottles. for
Gasly's
hamsters.
gone rogue and had like some trackside food?
I wonder if he went to the same Domino's that
No.
Will Buxton got food poisoning from at Race of Champions back in
Oh,
January.
yes.
it was a stomach bug that got passed around before they got there. I think it was just whilst
It was
they were
on one
in,
particular plane.
or one particular plane, or could have been an airplane situation. Imagine that Gasly had to land the plane.
Helmut Marko comes running out of the Toro Rosso thing going, did somebody leave the door open? Gasly's a house driver.
Don't let him out. Not even during the day. Oh dear.
Going back to
He'll eat another driver's droppings, I'm telling you. He does it all the time when we take him out.
Lovely.
Going back to his on-track performance, though, do we as a collective think that his performances are better in the Toro Rosso than they were in the Red Bull consistently now?
Yeah,
I think he's more
so.
comfortable in the Toro Rosso car than he was in the Red Bull car.
Yeah.
Still getting beaten by his teammate, though, a lot.
Yeah, possibly.
I think it's
actually
been
know what
it's been a
their
bit.
sort of head-to-head is like.
I think it's been a bit 50-50 since Gasly went back to Toro Rosso.
Yeah, obviously on this occasion he
He's
has
not-
finished ahead of.
I'm not sure whether he's doing better or not. He's
I
definitely
will
got
look
a
into
weaker
this while you
teammate.
talk amongst yourselves.
He's got a weaker teammate, so he doesn't have to be up against Max Verstappen every weekend. But he's still getting beaten now and again. And he's in a lesser car, so he's further down the grid. So I don't know if he is doing any better.
Yeah, I can see what you're trying to say. I think it's different. It's a whole different type of setting for him, isn't it? You know, he adapted a lot quicker to the Toro Rosso car than he adapted to the Red Bull earlier in the year.
He basically
admitted,
didn't.
yeah, he didn't adapt to it. He admitted that he found it difficult to drive, which isn't nothing wrong with that. Some drivers do find it difficult to
But
adapt.
I'm sure he found it difficult to drive, but I think he was also up against Max Verstappen being a bit special this year as
Yeah,
well.
there is that. Yeah, up against Special Verstappen, you're always going to look a little bit down on you know, a bit further down
Yeah.
than you would be normally. Jolyon Palmer made a point on after qualifying, saying that I think Albon was something like 4 tenths back on Verstappen, 4 or 5 tenths back on, and he said that's how far Gasly was behind Verstappen earlier in the year.
Yeah.
He said, you know, we say that Albon's been doing really well. Well, that's the same gap that Gasly was finding. You know, he
I
was,
think the difference is,
was
though,
behind.
that in race pace,
the Sundays are different.
Gasly was bobbins.
Gasly was finishing like 8th, 9th,
Yeah.
you know, and making mistakes, like in Germany, for example, when he happened to tag Alex Albon,
Yeah.
right near the end of the race, and Max just is always in the right place at the right time. Alex Albon still, I think he's better than Gasly was earlier this year. His race trim certainly looks better, but you know, still a few mistakes. Albon made a couple of mistakes this weekend. Didn't get a lot of time. Was it Friday he crashed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of big crashes, but he's always done it in practice or qualifying.
Yeah, he has not done it during the race.
No. Gasly Kvyat, by the way, in 6 races, Gasly is 4-2 ahead.
Okay, so he's a little bit
A
further.
little
ahead of
bit,
Kvyat.
not
Yeah.
much, not much in it.
And one thing to remember, though, I mean, Gasly is in his third season. Albon's a rookie.
2.5, isn't it, for Gasly?
That's a good point. Good point.
I think with Albon, the difference with Albon with Red Bull is if Verstappen is the title contender, I think with Albon, he could help them with the constructors' title.
The
He
Webber.
has that consistency, whereas Gasly didn't.
Yeah, he would be with a winter and perhaps a pre-season under his belt. He would be the Rosberg to
Yeah.
Verstappen's Hamilton, if you will.
Yes.
The way I mean that is that Rosberg was always there to pick up the pieces. If Hamilton couldn't win a race, Rosberg always
Yeah.
won the race.
The Webber to Vettel's Hamilton.
Yeah.
The Webber to
Vettel.
Verstappen's Vettel.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
You got there in the end. But yeah, exactly. The driver that you want to be there, as a rear gunner or
Yeah.
as somebody who can pick up as many points as possible if your main driver can't, for whatever reason. I think Albon would
Albon could be it.
could be that. It could be a number.
Ricciardo
could be
didn't
a,
want to be it.
No.
Gasly doesn't seem to have it. Albon might.
Yeah.
I think, given his choice again, I think Ricardo would have stayed at Red Bull.
Very possible.
Well, that does lead us nicely on to Renault.
Did you see him after qualifying?
Fuming.
Yeah, but did you see, like,
Well, yeah, we're on to Renault
way
now,
anything?
so-
Yeah.
Just about the loudest fuck ever.
Yeah, but there was pictures of him outside the garage, sort of with his head in his hands, outside, like just out when he walked out back into the paddock as well.
Seemed to be in a better mood by Sunday, especially with that coat.
Coat, the team
Did.
radio before the race. He was cracking. He was on good form on Sunday.
He
In
enjoyed
himself.
the race as well.
Yeah.
He enjoyed the race. He admitted that he enjoyed the race. The only runner to start the race on hard tires. The only runner to
Yeah,
start the race on hard
and
tires.
still getting decent lap times just before he pitted as well.
Yeah. Made
he's
it work.
He's still a top line driver.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course he
yeah.
is,
You know, it's Renault that's
Just in a
fucked
very
it.
average car.
I think the issue is when he was in Red Bull, he looked like a possible future world champion. Now it doesn't look any further from like the fact.
He's a fast driver in a slow car, and that's the problem.
But I just don't see a road for him back up the grid unless someone shifts around.
Shock Vettel retirement.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the winning
Yeah,
formula at the minute.
Because he is kind of the best driver, not in a good car. So, but I don't see like if say Hulkenberg, for instance, if he's not going to find a drive for next year, and there's that little driver movement going around. I don't think there's going to be a whole host of driver movements going in 2021. Not with new regulations, you wouldn't have thought.
Just to interject, I think Hulkenberg's only chance of a drive now is with what Alpha decided to do with Giovinazzi.
I think they'll keep him.
I think they probably
Well,
will.
I don't think Sauber don't even have the choice. It's out of Ferrari because they've got the rights to one of those seats, and that's what he's in at the
But
moment.
as the season's gone on, he has got more comparable to Raikkonen. So.
Yeah.
The only thing
Start to out-qualify him as
Yeah,
well.
and they don't have anyone else ready in the Ferrari young driver program to take his seat.
the only thing I think might save him is if there's some truth to that rumor that was going around that Haas were warned off him by Ferrari in case they needed him. So if there's truth to that, then it shows Ferrari see enough in him to maybe want him around as a future.
Jensen Button.
Yes. Vettel replacement.
Yeah. I was looking for Fisichella. That's what I was looking for. Future Fisichella.
Well, 2 races and then a testing run.
Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, I think it'd be stupid to keep Giovinazzi on. I mean, he's shown like he's improved,
I just don't know what else they've got.
but
Yeah.
I don't know what the point is in keeping him on as a Ferrari junior driver.
Well,
because there is no chance of him finding his way in a Ferrari.
Next in the queue behind Giovinazzi is Pascal Wehrlein and Brendan Experience Hartley.
Well, in
Yeah.
the young driver
In the
program,
young
it's
driver
Mike,
programme,
it's
it's Callum
Mick
Ilott.
Schumacher.
Yeah.
Mick
But-
Schumacher and Pietro Fittipaldi, isn't it? Are the next
And
two.
Callum Ilott would be the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
Callum Ilott, yeah, of course.
And
Especially with
Giuliano
Kimi.
Alesi, I think, is in there as well.
Yeah. But if Kimi's going to retire next year, like we think he will do, that might be good news for Nico as well. Because
Unless Mick Schumacher has a good F2 season.
this year,
Yeah.
Watch
next
Nico
year.
Hulkenberg.
No,
If-
what I'm thinking is having an experienced driver for being
Oh, I
next
see
to
him
him.
with you. Yeah.
Watch Nico Hulkenberg sign up as Mercedes reserve driver for next year.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
They're going to need someone to replace Ocon.
Yeah, because Ox off.
To Renault, who we were talking about. Yeah, well,
That could have been one of mine. It was that bad.
I know. Have they not got Stoffel? Could they not sort of
He's
use him with Formula E?
E.
yeah. Yeah.
Because Mercedes Formula E team is the McLaren reject squad.
It is.
Nick De Vries and
Because he's
Stoffel
been
Van
doing
Dorn.
simulator work for a Mercedes this year, Nick de
All
Vries.
right. Okay.
I did love that. Through all the...
And they gave Stoffel a scale extra just to get used to electric cars.
Well, Sam Bird was a Formula E driver and a Mercedes reserve, wasn't he, at one
Yeah,
point?
Buemi is a
Yeah.
Formula E driver and Red Bull reserve.
Yeah.
I do love that through all like the Lewis Hamilton bit that happened with the like carbon emissions, and like people need to be more like conscious of the carbon footprint, and someone to turns around and said, "So you drive a Formula E?" There, it's like, now, let's
Whoa, whoa.
let's
Let's
talk
not go
about
too
this.
far there.
So yeah, Hulk's race.
Double points for Renault. Let's not
Yeah.
forget,
Yeah,
even with Hulkenberg losing a
Yeah.
spot at the last corner.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't expect him to be that strong after being just busted for cheating.
And was it Grosjean who came out and said, "I used that system when I drove for that team. It was
I guess-
illegal then."
I think that's fair enough, because he got an awful lot of stick for that, for coming out and saying that. And
What, Grosjean saying something stupid about brakes?
yeah, but I don't like. He was just being honest.
so that's why he always complained about the Haas brakes not working. He had to use them himself.
Yeah, he didn't have the cheat.
So that's what the brake assist button on the steering wheel does. Right. Yeah, I mean, if Renault had been using that for a while, I think that's probably why they didn't appeal, because then the FIA would have had grounds to look further back and
Further
see
back.
what they've been doing. And
Yeah. They're going to disqualify. It was probably one of those punishments. We'll disqualify you from one Grand Prix. You don't use it again, and we say no more about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, this
Because
could
they
be-
weren't winning world championships with it,
No.
were they? They
Well,
weren't
you
winning
are talking
races.
about a big manufacturer as well, aren't you? You know, it's they don't want to put a load of shame onto
a
one
big
of the few
manufacturer who is
manufacturers.
likely to pull out because God, do they have
Exactly,
previous
yeah.
doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like they haven't had previous when it comes to gates.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway,
The difference,
Red
of course,
Bull.
being this time, did Alonso know about the brakes?
How far back does it go?
Either way, it wasn't doing that fucking much for them, was it? If we're perfectly, it's not like they were up there with Mercedes and then down there with Williams after it was taken off.
No. If anything, they've improved. Because well, no, it's true, because as a team, they were, even with Hulkenberg finishing 10th rather than 9th, they were the best of the rest. If you look at outside the top three teams,
Yeah,
you know, Perez, okay, he might have been the best driver out of the rest, but then
They were the only non-big three to get a double points finish. So
yeah, Stroll was the letdown for Racing Point.
usually is. Let's face it, nothing new there. Right, Red Bull, Albon in 5th, and a Verstappen recovery drive in 6th.
What this is? I've got a little bit of a problem with. I was thinking post race yesterday about Max Verstappen. He won driver of the day, didn't he? Official
I think
FIA
so, yeah.
driver
Yeah.
of the day. No, he was
I
at the
agree.
back because of his own mistakes.
he had a great drive though to come through the field.
He did drive well to come through the field, but the only reason he was at the back was because of his own mistakes. He admitted to breaking the rules on Saturday, which is fine. He admitted to breaking the rules. He held his hands up and said, "Yeah, I tried to go,
Yeah.
quicker."
That was a bit of I don't even think it was honesty. I think it was just clean arrogance.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if they disqualify me time, I've still got the second fastest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
didn't disqualify either of his times. They just gave him a penalty.
Yeah.
Being a
Yeah,
tit.
which probably pissed off Danny Rick, because he's now lost the outright circuit record to Max Verstappen by 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, but it was like I don't understand why it wasn't investigated sooner.
I
You know,
think it was
so
because
weird.
Bottas's crash damaged the automatic sensor that sets off the flashing light and the light on the dashboard.
Yeah.
So if Verstappen had played it a bit more clever and said, "Oh, do you know what? I just missed the flag. I was expecting to see it on my dashboard. I'm
Yeah.
very sorry." they'd have probably let it go
But
because
then
of
he was
that.
arrogant.
Then they
Yeah,
showed the on
because
board
he's
and
been
you
like,
could
I'm
see the
so
flag.
clever.
Yeah.
I found a way around it.
I
They've
mean,
gone, no, you
like,
did.
when you saw him come around the corner, there was a guy with a yellow flag and
Yeah.
and a sign saying "Hi, Mama Montelli."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if he'd have played it a little bit clever and said he just wasn't expecting only to see the yellow flag, he was expecting to see the digital as well, then
And let's be fair, it is Max Verstappen, and sometimes I think because of the reputation he's got, he gets treated quite harshly. So if he's going to own up to a penalty, surely he thinks there's a pretty good chance of me getting this penalty.
Yeah. 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 The Alex Albon, great solid drive, was probably didn't get the credit he deserved for his race on Sunday. As I was saying before, the accident that he had on Friday limited his time on Friday, and then Saturday was kind of a very quick learning curve for him. Qualified quite well,
Yeah.
and then he was actually keeping pace when he was running third for a while. He was keeping pace with the two Ferraris up front. The gap from Leclerc to Vettel to Albon was the same. It was like 1.3 seconds across the board. He did a really good job at holding off for as long as he possibly could until the silver cars came through.
Like controversial statement, probably. I don't think race pace wise, I don't think Max would have done much better than that.
No,
if
Max
he
was
up there.
40 something seconds behind, which is roughly what he would have lost, with the pit stop
Yeah.
and,
stuff.
and the puncture, etc.
Yeah, I mean, he was
Well, no,
coming
probably
through
a
the
bit more
field,
than that.
whereas
Yeah.
Albon had some clear air. But I don't, when he was hanging on to the back of those Ferraris, I don't think all of a sudden Max would have been able to close on them. Like I said, I think if they put Albon in that car next year with a year in the factory and stuff like that on the lead up
with
to
the winter
thing,
under his belt.
I see no reason, right? If Bottas can give Hamilton a run for his money on his day, I see no reason why Albon won't be a bit of a handful for Max.
he's just so relaxed as well. I don't think he is going to get rattled by Verstappen.
No, he doesn't seem it, does he?
Gasly, we think maybe has not coped well with being eclipsed.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the kind of thing that would phase
No.
Albon at all.
One other thing about Verstappen and the comeback, I can't remember which race it was this season, but Verstappen got various engine penalties and was starting at the back. And his quote before the race was, "Well, if everything plays out, I'll finish at least sixth anyway."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, Verstappen did what he was expected to do.
Yeah.
By coming through the field.
Yeah.
I think
but
it was
he
Russia.
shouldn't have put himself at the back of the field to start with,
Yeah. No.
because he was
It was a petrol
far too
move.
aggressive because of the penalty that he got.
Yeah.
that caused him
But
to.
I think he knew he didn't have the pace to overtake Bottas any other way. Because it was Bottas,
It was
wasn't it?
Hamilton.
Hamilton,
Yeah,
yeah,
because
sorry.
He took a chunk out of
Hamilton,
Hamilton's floor.
Yeah,
But I
which
I
Lewis
think-
pointed to
Yeah.
at the end of the race. He had a chunk of his floor missing. So,
Yeah. But I don't think he would have had the straight line speed to get him under DRS on the straights. It's this is the thing. I just don't think they would have had the car to overtake any other way. That's why it had to be.
Early
I've got a
doors.
chance at a desperate lunge here, and he tried it. And
well,
Didn't
sometimes aggressive Max works, and you sat there and you're like, wow, how did he pass?
50 in it? Yeah.
Yeah, how did he pass there? Like nobody ever makes a move
Yeah.
like that down into that corner, and
It's
that's
rarely clean though. It's
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah, it is
even
rarely
when he
clean.
does stuff, it is
Well,
rarely
look what happened
clean.
with Leclerc in Austria as well. They banged wheels. It was
That was perfectly fine.
it was about as hard, like you said before. it was
No,
about-
if anything, it was Leclerc's fault.
it's isn't that what Dan said?
I was going to say, it's like Dan's in the room.
No, there was more racial expletives, but
I'd like to apologise to Dan for all the hate mail he's about to get again, even though blatantly he's not here tonight.
Yeah, that was probably about as hard racing as it should be. Banging wheels, very hard going into a corner. Max can do spectacular overtakes, and when he gets them right, they're incredible. But when he gets them wrong, he often comes off worse. And he did in Mexico, and he's won the race the last 2 years. He'd have been probably just off the podium, maybe battling Leclerc again towards the end of the race,
Yeah.
had he not put himself out of contention early on. I don't think it's the right decision to give him driver of the day, because he wasn't he made mistakes that put him further back.
Drive of the Day is just a popularity contest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if Rio Haryanto can win it.
Yes, this is true. If Robert Kubica can win it.
Yeah, when did Kubica win Driver of the Day?
I do love the fact that that was actually a
don't
Russian
remember.
hack, wasn't it?
Was it Hungary?
It might have been, yeah. Might have been Hungary.
Honourable mention as well for the Red Bull pit crew with their 1.9 second pit stop.
It was
Yeah.
1.93. It was 200. I think it was 200ths. Did I read 200ths outside their own world record?
Wow.
when everyone else was fucking pit stops up at
Yeah.
that time as
Yeah.
well. Just, there we
Yeah.
are, less than 2 seconds, on you go.
What was it? 6.6 for Leclerc.
8 years for Lando Norris.
The Giovinazzi one where it fell off the jack.
Yeah.
That looked dangerous.
And he
Yeah.
picked up
Well, the
like
wheel
the
wasn't
tyre.
on.
The
Yeah.
tyre picked up like the paint
Yeah.
of the pit lane.
Yeah, because we thought I thought at first they'd left stickers on. You said that looks a bit IndyCar.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's actual stop marks from the tarmac.
I thought it was like chalk on the.
Yeah, it
But no,
was
they actually
bizarre.
picked up the paint. They were very strange.
I could just imagine everyone in those helmets go, fucking hell, fucking hell, fucking hell. Shit, lads. Shit.
It's a good job there's no refueling in Mexico, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. Because if you can get the pit
Jeez.
stops wrong like that, come on.
Yeah, F1 needs more fire.
No, it doesn't.
You fucking selling Salba tacos at the end of it.
There's got to be a long running one in there somewhere.
Do you think somebody makes that joke every time Jos Verstappen gets near a barbecue?
Hope so.
Whoa, careful, Jos is near some fire.
Anyway,
No,
you know what, though?
I think people only make that
No.
joke to him once.
Yeah, I would not be joking. I would not be joking about Jos if he had fire.
Yeah, don't forget, he's already outside, so that's somewhere he doesn't have to offer you.
how does it feel, Yoss? How does like the highlight of your career being set alight in the pit lane?
Well, the one thing everyone remembers you for is not your third place finish at the British Grand Prix.
Fire and your son.
Was it the British Grand Prix you finished third? I can't remember.
That's the point, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he was on fire.
Yeah, I remember he finished third, and Michael Schumacher was very surprised to see him pull into the garage of a podium. What? You finished third?
Right then, Ferrari. Leclerc, fourth, Vettel, second. Dodgy pit stop, lost Leclerc 4 seconds, which ended up being the amount he was
I
off
have to
the
Google
podium
Jos
by.
Verstappen's third place now.
He ran wide as well, didn't he, when he was chasing Bottas down? He was catching Bottas and then just lost it.
Yeah. As soon as the bad pit stop for Leclerc happened, Twitter lit up with the tinfoil brigade. They're doing it to keep them apart.
I think it was they made a mistake. I think.
The wheel didn't go on.
But no, but
It
I
took-
mean,
it took 3
just,
goes.
No, but just bringing him in at that point, like
You know when you type
hitting
Jos
him
Verstappen
from the
into
lead,
Google?
I think was a mistake.
Was that not his second pit stop where the gun jammed?
I haven't got my glasses on, but
Well,
that
I
looks like
thought it was
word
the
fire.
first because they pitted him, didn't they? Pitted
Yeah.
him. He came out on the hards.
They pitted him immediately after Albon pitted, and he
Yeah.
came out ahead of Albon. So that one went well. I'm sure it was the second one where the gun jammed.
Yeah, I think it was because that's where he lost all the time because he was running. He was on schedule to be top 3, and then just dropped off the back because of that.
But I think he had like I'm sure when he went on the hards, he had a similar thing happen to him that happened to McLaren's. I thought he lost a load of pace somewhere.
It might have taken him a lap or two to get him going, but I don't think there was anything wrong with the pit stop as such. I think
No,
it was-
there's nothing wrong with the pit stop. But I think I thought they pitted him again afterwards to get him off the hards because he'd lost the pace.
Did they put him on fresh hards? I can't
No,
remember.
Leclerc
what
went medium hard.
Or was it medium hard?
That's what both Ferraris did.
Because he just seemed to, even though they messed his pit stop up, he seemed to go like he didn't make any inroads.
Vettel
Vettel
one
went on
stopped.
hards. Yeah, Vettel one
Because
stopped.
Vettel was going to do the same
yeah.
and then bitched about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stayed out for an
Yeah.
extra
Yes.
10 laps.
Yeah, incidentally, Jos Verstappen 2 third places, both in 1994, Hungary and then Belgium.
So
I had
memorable.
to
Then
look that up.
one Silverstone, Two non-Silverstones. What's the difference?
I think this is going to be really interesting now with Ferrari because apart from qualifying,
So he caught fire in Germany. Sorry, he caught fire in Germany, and then got
was
2
it?
podiums straight afterwards.
but apart from qualifying, where Leclerc
on
seems to
fire.
have the pace,
Sorry, carry on.
so
Lee's trying to make a point, and we're
I
just
don't-
being
yeah.
juvenile over
I
here.
don't think he's got the race pace on Vettel anymore. I think right now, Vettel is the best Sunday driver in Ferrari.
Is it that he
Like
hasn't?
Stroll, who's a Sunday driver.
Yeah.
Is it that he hasn't got the pace, or is it that Vettel has actually found some pace?
Oh, I think
and
Vettel's
Vettel was
fine.
just.
I expected
off there
Ferrari
somewhere.
to struggle. If you remember last week's
Yeah.
podcast, I said I didn't expect that Ferrari's aerodynamic upgrade would be so efficient in Mexico because of the altitude. Yeah, I got that wrong. But
Talking of the Ferrari upgrade and the improved performance, Binotto says he welcomes an inquiry and an investigation into the new engine just to prove that there is nothing dodgy about it.
there's an
welcomes it
inquiry
as
into
long as
Ferrari
it's
power
done
unit. I
by-
missed that.
There's rumours that somebody's about to make a protest.
Is it to do with extra battery power, perhaps? Because that's been a rumor that's been going around
On the
for a
Ferrari
long-
engines?
Yeah, it's been a long.
Something's happened. Like
So it's a rumor that's been going around for a long
Interesting.
time. Is that how they store extra power and then deploy it or something?
right.
I'm going to
So-
take a punt in advance that this is going to be a protest from someone like Racing Point, i.e., a Mercedes customer, but not Mercedes. That would be.
Kubica.
Yeah, or Williams. It might. That would be who I would expect such a thing.
Well, we know
to
that
come
Racing
from.
Point have got a former Renault employee. Do they have any former Ferrari employees knocking about?
Probably,
Probably,
the,
yeah.
you know, the way that people intermingle in the paddock and swap teams
Yeah.
here, there, and everywhere. It's quite likely that somebody working for Racing Point used to work for Ferrari, or quite recently. But
But nobody's made an inquiry about Racing Point and the rocket launcher because
No.
that was an official thing because they said it on Twitter that it was.
Yes.
They did. They confirmed that in a tweet. 2, 3 legs, 4 wheels.
yes,
It's where the blue shells come out of.
Yeah,
Good. So it was a good bit of Twitterage.
they're good on Twitter at Racing Point.
But back to Ferrari.
I thought Ferrari could have attacked Mercedes late on in the race because at one point it was 7 seconds, less than 7 seconds, separated the top 4.
It was 5 at one point.
5 seconds, but then, as you're saying, Leclerc ran wide when trying to chase Bottas. Was it trying to get past a back marker? Was it Kvyat perhaps? And
I think maybe he had not long got past the back marker.
yeah, and it just sort of
sat
offset his
cooling his
braking
tyres
point
a bit, maybe.
Yeah, and offset his braking point perhaps a little bit. Yeah, a little bit disappointed with Leclerc as to how decent he's been after the summer break. He's that inherited pole position meant that he's now got more pole positions than anyone else this season.
yeah.
So that's an impressive stat for
Officially,
him to-
Verstappen still has the pole position because he is
Oh,
still
really?
credited with the fastest time in the FIA's
Oh, okay.
classification.
on the official documents and on the grid that the official grid that the FIA put out, he still had that time and a little asterisk with the 3-place penalty
Yeah.
for ignoring safety
Yeah.
warnings.
Okay, I
He
suppose
is,
that's
he
right.
is still
isn't it? 'Cause-
credited with fastest qualifying.
Yeah, because the Schumacher still got pole in Monaco the last
Yes.
year, 202012, but then you had like a 10-place penalty or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, they still,
Yeah.
still
I think they
refer
do
to
that,
as
for
a pole,
betting,
don't they?
don't they? I think they do that for betting purposes. So if
I think it's just the way the penalty is applied because the penalty was not to take the time away. The penalty was
Grid positions for not being
Yeah.
safe.
But like if you're to if you put a bet on someone and like say so they're disqualified after the race or something like that, your bet still stands because it's what happens at the checkered flag, isn't
could
it?
be. I mean, the main reason we know about this is because there was a lengthy debate when trying to figure out the podcast predictions scoring. Is the main reason we had to study this yesterday. Like, what do we do?
Yeah, the FIA have officially given it to Verstappen, so
Yeah.
Verstappen is getting the points.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but
And if anybody wants to argue, take it up with the steward of that competition. Oh, that's me, and I put the scores in as well. So
Just quickly, do we still think there's a chance Vettel will leave Ferrari?
I don't know. I want to.
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's,
Yeah.
he seems
He seems
happy.
more-
He seems happier again. He's been mardy as fuck recently.
He's been kicking. He's been on good form this week, hasn't he? He's been good bitchy Seb. He's been bitching at the
Yeah.
guy with the stick.
Yeah.
He
Didn't
doesn't
like-
like the trophy.
Didn't like the selfie guy.
Mario
Didn't like the
Achi.
trophy.
Mario Achi, that's
You
the
know,
one.
he said something this week that agreed with what we've been saying for the last year. Get rid of the sponsors' logos on the trophies.
Correct.
Yeah.
Have
Yes.
real trophies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not that weird monkey thing they have in France.
I like the monkey thing.
I liked it once. I didn't need it for a second year. Once
could've-
was a fun
we could have
novelty.
had a different
Second was
animal
like,
this
mm.
year.
The only thing I say is that the monkey should stay, but it should be gold, silver, and bronze.
But
Yeah.
red, white, and blue is the French flag colours. So
Yeah, gold, silver, and bronze is like medal colours. I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah, but then you're back to Bernie's idea of giving medals to the top three.
A gold monkey does sound like Cockney rhyming slang for something, though.
It does.
Oh, don't you remember that TV series? Sort of, actually, you might be a bit too young for this. But it was a Raiders of the Lost Ark.
1806.
Ha ha ha! Raiders of the Lost Ark rip-off TV series called Tales of the Gold Monkey,
No, I don't
and it was
remember
about an archaeologist who went round a lot of made-up sites and got into skirmishes.
that. No, I
No.
don't remember. That sounds
No.
terrible.
I think it lasted one series, and everyone went, Harrison Ford did it better.
Now, I want to point something out here. You know, Ferrari had this resurgence and they went and won. Was it 3 races in a row or 4 in a row
Some.
after the summer break? They
If
went-
only, if only there was someone on the show that was good at stats.
yeah. Unfortunately,
I think was it 3 and 4 because did Russia come in between? I don't know where Russia came. I've lost track.
yeah, Russia was just before Japan. But
The chat,
the thing
chat
is,
now know more than us because Sean just explained why his qualifying lap stands, and I didn't manage to read it all before it disappeared.
I'm glad YouTube retains the chat so we can read up on that
We'll
later and do,
look into that
do a
later.
correction show.
thank you, Sean.
You see, even when he's not on the show, he's on the show.
It's useful.
But the thing is, the point I'm trying to make here is Mercedes have now just won 3 in a row and nobody gives a shit.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's banded back and forth between Ferrari and Mercedes. When Ferrari were in their rich vein of form post summer break, it was just like wow. Especially at Singapore, it was just like wow. Ferrari have really got this now. And then Mercedes have gone and won another 3 on the bounce, and it's just nobody's just like wow. Well, the pendulum swung back Mercedes' way because
They're already champions.
well, they're already champions, but because of the work they did earlier in the season, but. To swing it back their way.
Don't do things like that and just sort of freeze. You're on camera. People
I know.
think that their internet connection's dropped off.
Hello, everyone. But when you swing to have that swing back your way after your rivals are apparently got so much so much straight line speed and a huge advantage over you now, it's going to be really difficult for you to win a race for the rest of the season. Then all of a sudden you win 3 on the bounce. And nobody bats an eyelid because you're kind of expected to do it because you're Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's to me, I think that deserves just as much credit as Ferrari pulling it back to win some races.
I think
mid-season.
so. I can't help but think Sean will probably be better at this than I am, but I can't help but think that Ferrari'd themselves out of this win twice that weekend. I think they pitted, they were covering Albon off when they didn't need to cover him off, especially when you can see when Albon came up, he was trapped in all that traffic. You know, he must have lost 2 or 3 seconds to Leclerc at that point. So they were covering off a threat from a car which was never going to challenge them. So that was why Leclerc went, and I just think they left. They just didn't hit Vettel right. They should have. They weren't racing Hamilton. If you know what I mean.
They
So
let
it's-
Vettel choose his own strategy,
Yeah.
and he was quite comfortable to let Hamilton go. So let him go,
yeah,
let him go. You know, convinced that they were going to get him
Can't
towards the
hold
end
him
of the
back
race.
anymore.
yeah.
But the fact that Mercedes were, and I don't think it was sandbagging, pre-race when they were saying that, it's going to be very difficult. We don't expect a good result because we normally don't get one in Mexico. Car's probably not going to suit it. I think it was all purely down to strategy. The reason that they won that race. Just look at everything, even right up to the end of qualifying. You would have said Mercedes don't look like they're going to win
No.
this race. It could be anybody but Mercedes, and then Mercedes can pull out a 1-3, and Ferrari aren't able to get close enough to attack at the end of the race.
But this is why I stuck a tenner on Hamilton to win the race, because
You're a
We've-
fanboy.
Well, apparently not. But it was the fact that all year Ferrari have struggled with tyres, and we knew this was going to be a tyre limited circuit. So I didn't understand why all of a sudden Ferrari wouldn't be struggling with tyres, and Hamilton wouldn't be Captain Twinkle Toes like he's been.
He has become one of those drivers who used to be really aggressive.
Right, destroying tyres.
Yeah, burn through his tyres really
carbon
quickly.
footprint, you see, that's what we're worried about.
It's a rubber footprint. But but yeah, and I don't know if he's took lessons from Jenson Button when they were teammates, or if he's somehow adapted his driving style just to still be super quick but less aggressive somehow.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, the man who's a huge fan of Ayrton Senna drives an awful lot like Alain Prost. I'll drive
Definitely
slow
this year,
enough
yeah.
just to win. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I'll drive slow enough just so I can win and I don't damage anything.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm going to get accused now of being a fanboy, it was a masterclass from Lewis Hamilton in how to manage a car slower but faster than everyone else.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, this is where I thought he had it in the bag even when the commentary was trying to get excited about it, because when they were trying to put out the fact that Vettel was just waiting, and waiting to see what happened with Hamilton's tyres. Well, it's ridiculous. He's only 2 seconds behind, or 2.5 seconds. If it was possible for him to get close to Hamilton, overtake it, of course he's going to do it, because he's got Bottas breathing down his neck, and behind him he's got Leclerc. And the last thing Vettel wanted was for Leclerc to get Bottas and then have Leclerc on the back of him. I'm sure he'd prefer Lewis Hamilton behind him than Leclerc at the minute. I never got this whole thing, and I think there was a bit of it was misleading commentary trying to hype a race up that probably was never going to materialise.
But I would like to have seen Vettel get within DRS of Hamilton just to see if he could have got past on that really long straight.
If he could have got into DRS, I think he would have got past him.
Well, I think we saw that the cat and mouse thing where Vettel would close in 2/10,
Yeah.
and then Hamilton
Hamilton's
would
just
pull out
managing
2/10.
it. Yeah.
And we saw, didn't we, on the lap times that the top 4 drivers constantly putting in personal bests towards the end of the race.
Yeah, there was
personal best.
green times coming up one lap after another.
I mean, the only thing I will say about it is that you had 2 incidents, didn't you? One with Bottas racing Vettel, which held Vettel up for a little bit, and then Vettel hit all that traffic as well, didn't he? At one point, where he hit like the 3 cars.
Oh, who was it? It was racing each other.
Couple of Toro Rossos,
Kvyat?
remember?
It was Ricardo and the 2 Toro Rossos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, everybody, Romain Grosjean, when he tried to move out of the way for everyone, and just ended up
Going in the grass.
ended up just leaving the circuit.
He went via the Circuit of Americas.
He was like, right, so you're going to Cancun for the weekend.
Poor Roman.
No.
He does deserve it. Got to give credit to Bottas, because that was a good performance by him, I thought, this
Yeah.
this time round.
Yeah.
It's,
Particularly after a big crash right at the end of qualifying. Like
Massive
that
shunt
would
at the end of
put you off.
qualifying. And he was driving fairly aggressively early on in the race, and that was like, this is a Bottas 2.0 race then.
yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, to keep...
I don't think
I've
quite
just-
Bottas 2.0.
I've just said that it was, a masterclass from Hamilton to win as slow as he possibly could. But for Bottas to be within... it was third, not second, but to be within touching distance, it's a good effort. And it's why was it there's something like Bottas's 14th podium of the season.
Crazy.
That's mental.
In 18 races.
14 podiums in 18 races, yeah. That's why he's still in the title fight,
Yeah.
mathematically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, Hamilton is going to win the title.
Yeah. And he's won 10 races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bottas has won 3.
It's going to have to be a DNF, I think, isn't it, for Hamilton not to wrap up the championship next weekend?
I think 3 DNFs in a row is
I
the
don't know,
only-
but like not to
specifically
wrap
for
up
this
it.
weekend.
Yeah.
I think if I've worked it out correctly...
If Bottas wins, Hamilton just needs to finish in the top 8, and he's won it.
Wow.
If Bottas doesn't win the race, Lewis Hamilton's world champion.
Right, yeah. So he's he's not going to win the race.
He might win
He
the
might
race,
win the race,
but I don't think
will Hamilton finish outside the top 8?
Unlikely.
Hasn't Hamilton won
He likes
the
Circuit of
US
the Americas,
more
doesn't
than
he?
anybody else?
Yeah,
think
Vettel,
so.
Vettel twice and Hamilton the rest of the time.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Kimmy last year.
Well, Kimmy last year, yes, of course.
Yeah, Ferrari's last win
Happy
for
podium.
nearly a decade.
Didn't
what
Kimmy
everyone
win the
made out.
first? Didn't Kimmy win the first Texas Grand Prix for Lotus?
No, it was Hamilton for McLaren, I think.
Where
think
where
it
was
was,
the
yeah.
where
2012.
It was
from
Abu
McLaren.
Dhabi, I think, was his last.
Was that Abu
Lotus.
Dhabi, was it
Was
the-
it Abu Dhabi and Australia 2013? I think he won like back to back, but across seasons.
right? Okay, cool.
If that makes sense.
I couldn't remember whether that
And then,
was a.
thanks to
I know what I'm
Sean,
doing.
as we know, he won the record for the biggest gap between wins in terms of
Yeah.
races.
In fact, I think in Raikkonen's second season with Lotus, I don't think he did Circuit of the Americas. I think Heikki Kovalainen did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's,
Kovalainen is,
when he had
yeah.
back surgery.
bouncing checks and back surgery.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
the very famous bit where Kimi Raikkonen was actually followed by a cameraman into the car park, getting into a taxi with a milkshake, and just disappeared. That was him done for the season.
And he had to pay his own taxi fare because Lotus couldn't afford it.
Yeah, probably.
So, rock stars and wankers.
Ooh.
McLaren looked like wankers,
McLaren did look like
Yeah.
wankers.
especially after Lando's pit stop.
Yeah, pit crew
Lando's
wankers.
pit crew definitely looked like wankers.
I think
Sauber looked like wankers.
I think wheel guns come fairly high on the wanker list.
Potential.
Rain was a wanker
For
because
not
it
showing up.
Down an
through-
hour after the
Yeah,
race.
Ted's. I
Fucking
have seen a
useless.
bit of Ted's notebook from when he's there with his
Yeah.
umbrella, and there's just like pools everywhere.
I could have done with that during the race, really. To
Yeah, that
spice
would have
it
been
up a bit.
fun.
Yeah. Shout out to Sean's pre-race prediction of rain's forecast. What's the bet? And it comes an hour after we finish.
There's the hero.
Never, if you live anywhere where there's going to be a Formula One Grand Prix, don't organise to go for a walk an hour after a race. Just
So
don't do
rock
it.
stars, I'm going to say James Vowles and Marcus Dudley at Mercedes, because
Yeah.
they
Stepping
called
up.
they called the strategy that won Mercedes an unwinnable race.
I'm going to say car lift because I fucking loved it.
I quite
Yeah.
enjoyed that.
It
actually.
was good.
I think
Although,
any other winner would have been. Can you imagine Bottas on that?
Kimi.
Kimmy on that would have been just like it just I put it on Twitter, but it just sort of took me back to a few months ago when I went to see Kiss and the big ballad at the end, Beth.
Yeah.
Drummer plays it on piano and that rose up from the stage and the three of us that were there, all massive Kiss fans, all looked at each other and went, nah, too fucking Vegas.
No, it's good. I like it. I like all the.
You went to watch
Trying to
Kiss
make it
and
more
that was
exciting.
too Vegas.
It crossed the line. It was at the end of the show. We'd been Vegas for nearly 2 hours.
Okay.
That was just one Vegas too far. That was the last Vegas we could cope with. Oh, come on. You got away with your rock off.
That wasn't even a joke, though. At least mine was a pun.
The last Vegas? Oh.
Anyway,
Moving swiftly on. Predictions. Who did what? This is...
oh yes,
Mixed bag, I think.
Not
I don't
well.
think any of us had had Hamilton for the win.
I thought I did okay.
oh, I think I had Verstappen for the
Come on.
win,
I
Remember-
had Verstappen.
and then two
We
Mercedes drivers.
got a 10-pointer from the listeners.
Oh
Did you-
wow,
We
Yeah.
always
Good
do.
work.
Good.
We're
Yeah,
so
we
bad
still
at
we
this.
still haven't had an 11 for a while.
Right.
Nobody's got a full house yet. But how we did in here, and as everyone can see, I am loading the page up now because I should have done it earlier.
Good planning.
so well prepared, Paul.
Yeah.
As always. Why isn't that working? Oh, it's taking me back to the homepage. I don't know how to use technology.
Clearly,
So if I recall, everyone on the podcast went for either a Verstappen or a Vettel win.
I think Verstappen. Yeah,
I think Verstappen had quite a
people
few
were
hits.
Did
Verstappen.
I
think
went
it was
for
a
Vettel, didn't I?
I think
Did
there was a
go for
Vettel or
Vettel?
two in there.
I think I went for.
Let's have a look. Chris, you went for a Verstappen win, Bottas second, Hamilton third.
2 points.
Dan, a Verstappen win, Leclerc second, and Sainz third.
Crazy.
No points.
In cricketing terms, didn't trouble the scorers. Lee,
I believe that's in Stroll terms as well.
he had a Stroll Saturday of a performance. Lee, you actually did best out of a lot of us. You had a Vettel win, Hamilton second, Bottas third, one overtake, and you'd have got a full
Yeah.
house. I had Vettel first, Hamilton second, Leclerc third, and Sean second best out of everyone. A Verstappen win, Hamilton second, Bottas third. And our guest predictor, Nick Stovey, he had a Verstappen win, Leclerc second, and Bottas third. So a definite mixed bag
Yeah.
of scores.
Bang,
Yeah.
yeah.
One of my better weekends there. Maybe my best.
Along with your Hamilton bet.
What does that puts you up to?
Yeah.
That puts you up to third.
Does it?
In the standings? The guests are still winning on 61. I'm on 57.
Yeah, you're not going to fight the hive mind, though, are you?
No, that is true.
It's
That
like,
is true.
it's like trying to play a fucking quiz with the Borg.
Oh, I could try that round on this Friday one that I'm doing. Lee, yeah, you're in third, 54. Dan's on 53, Chris on 51, and Sean on 49. So it's still fairly tight with 3 races to go. Still got 27 points up for
It's
grabs.
time for a
Yeah.
late charge.
The title is mathematically still there. And of course, we have a race to look forward to this weekend as well because we're on a back-to-back week.
Yep.
One of our favourite circuits of the season, would you say? Circuit of the Americas?
Yeah, I think
yeah, it's
Absolutely,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
The hill up to the hairpin at turn 1, a sharp left, which is rare for a Formula 1 circuit to have a sharp left first turn, and then it's Tribute City all the way to
Herman's greatest hit.
Yeah.
Herman's. Yeah, no, Herman's. I'm gonna
To
make
be
a Herman
fair,
Hermans
the lead
reference.
up to turn 1 is like a kink away from being a tribute as well, isn't it?
Eau Rouge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Mercedes should be expecting good things here because, like we said earlier, Hamilton has bossed this for the last few years.
Yeah. I think
Aside
so.
from last year,
Aside
as
from
Sean
last
pointed
year
out.
when-
I think Vettel has 1 win as well, doesn't he?
I think it's
you
1 or
said.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. No concerns about the track surface this year because there have been complaints, mainly from MotoGP, over
that
it recently.
Yeah.
They had it ground down a couple of years ago, didn't they? And that just kicked a load of dust up, which
Yeah.
was not helpful.
Yeah.
Weather has been an issue over the years. We have
Yeah.
had, it's one of the circuits where we have had qualifying on the Sunday morning, if I remember rightly.
Yes, that happened.
In an empty stands, was it as well?
Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed in for the race yet.
couldn't let people in because there was still a threat of thunderstorms, but there were
Right.
cars on the track. I want to say 2014.
Possibly.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think it was before we were podding.
At like, as far as your wages, it's starting at 5 million and going upwards. You can get out in a bit of fucking lightning.
Iffy
But there is a
drainage as
massive
well, isn't
tower,
it,
isn't
for
there,
a
in-
newer
in-
circuit? But the drainage can be a bit hit and miss.
Yeah, I mean, they've had problems before with water collecting under some of the bridges.
Yeah.
And there was a burst pipe. Again, I think that was in MotoGP that they ended up having to delay the race while they fixed the burst pipe and then mopped up the track because it was about a 3-inch deep puddle
Oops.
right in the middle of the circuit. It's like, yeah, this isn't great planning. But yeah, I think we're gonna see another Mercedes 1-2 here.
I feel it's going to be a Mercedes 1-2.
I'm leaning that way also.
Big crowning.
Don't know about
World
1-2, but
champion.
I think a Mercedes win and a world championship win for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
would is about the only way I can predict at the moment, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, big weekend for Mercedes by taking a 1-2 and the title.
Yeah. I think it'll be a good showing.
Yeah. As far as other teams, do we think Haas can improve? I mean, they're getting some extra circuit knowledge by
No,
driving
absolutely
around in a
not.
NASCAR.
They'll be with Williams again.
I think
think-
Ferrari will be quite close, if I'm perfectly honest, because I mean there is some fast turns and long straight. Well, the long straight.
Yeah.
And sector 1, okay, yeah. it's
Even
a little
getting
bit-
you up that hill takes some horses. You know.
And they have the prancing ones.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see Alpha Sauber struggling as well.
Yeah, I could see that.
'Cause I think there's a lot of similar characteristics in bits of the circuit to what there is in Mexico. And
Really?
Well, yeah, Mexico got tilted, didn't it?
A little, yeah.
And this is why I think it's going to be another bad one for Alpha. I think I'm sticking my neck out here. I think we will see the same 3 teams at the back that we did this week.
How's that sticking your neck
What,
out?
McLaren?
7 days later, no change. Big
Well,
call.
take McLaren out of the equation. It's going to be the Formula 1.6 teams still not making any ground.
Because I know McLaren had a desperate Mexican Grand Prix, but I actually historically they do really well.
Yeah,
in-
no, I'm
in
expecting to see
Austin.
McLaren move up, but it's going to be Williams, Alfa, and Haas. They are going to be more. They're going to be a bit more adrift from the rest of the midfield.
Can't remember what Alonso and Van Dorn did for McLaren last year, but the
I think Alonso got points.
I can remember Alonso
I don't
steaming through
recall.
when McLaren had a Honda engine.
Are you not thinking of Jensen Button? Jensen Button did that.
You're always thinking of Jensen Button. It doesn't matter what the subject is. You're just thinking of Jensen Button.
Hands above the table.
Pretty sure Alonso did a 5th place at Circuit of the Americas
Yeah.
in a McLaren Honda.
But we're not allowed. Are we allowed to call it McHonda?
No,
No.
but McLaren. Yeah, I think this is a circuit that they're more likely to be suited to. Yeah, I think the altitude must have just got to McLaren and didn't know how to look after their tyres.
Last year, Alonso retired as a crash on lap 1.
Oh, well done, Fernando Alonso.
So yes, Stoffel Van Dorn was 11th, which is very, very Van Dorn.
That's a good race. Good race. Fan.
That's probably one of his better
So
ones.
McLaren did well.
Yes.
So Alonso technically had 2 consecutive nightmare US racing weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, he qualified
Yes.
for this race.
Oh, that's that. And it just went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's an uphill to get to turn 1 at the Circuit of the Americas.
It kind of stalled halfway up and then rolled back. Right. And what do we reckon for potential rock stars and potential wankers this weekend?
Weather could play a part in either way. I mean, we said
Yeah.
that at Mexico City, and then it just didn't arrive until an hour afterwards. But
Rockstar's going to be Hamilton.
it's going to be
Yeah.
colder than it usually is. I know it's only a week later than usual, but the storm was the other time that
All right, Michael
the-
Fish.
Michael Fish.
His name is Flood. They don't call him that for no reason.
Nope. I'm referring
'Cause
once
he's
again to
always
nominative determinism. But it's usually warm, isn't it? Even though it's late October, you see people shorts, t-shirt.
Yeah.
Late October, early November. But it's a week later this year, and it just appears to make the difference.
That's because the clocks go back.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly
It's an hour colder.
so no, it's
That's how it works, isn't it?
It is expected to be quite.
Hey, we're bloody freezing this morning. The clocks went back Saturday
It
night.
was freezing
That's
this
true,
morning.
to be
true.
fair.
Proper winter almost.
Almost, but it is expected to be colder in Austin than usual.
Mm-hmm.
So wonder if that'll play havoc with the tires, or because obviously
Give
they
Haas
choose the
another
tyres-
excuse.
Well, no, they choose the tires weeks in advance, don't they? That's the thing. So
For non-European races, is it 14?
14
Something
weeks.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
I think these got chosen before the summer break.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rock star, as you say, was probably going to be Hamilton.
He's going to do something monumental on the
There'll be
podium when
donuts,
he wins the
there'll
world title, isn't he?
Yeah.
If he
Crowd
wins it on the
surfing.
podium, he might just do a Hamilton and Bottas is winning and he needs to finish 8th. Bottas won. Hamilton finished 8th.
what was it last couple of years when he's won in Mexico? I think there was a seventh place
and a 9th
and
or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So he can do the bare minimum to get what he needs. 2008, anyone?
Right, should we have some predictions?
So just quickly, I want to throw a quick wanker out there.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Grosjean.
Well, yes.
That's taken as a given, isn't
No,
it?
no, but he
It's
hasn't.
not. It's not a real prediction.
He
is it?
hasn't had a proper Grosjean for a while, and that run up to the turn 1.
Has Grosjean written all
if
over
they're
it?
already struggling, so he's right at the back too.
I want them to have a good race because it's their home Grand Prix. So maybe they'll do the Haas thing of having a really good Saturday and then ruining Sunday for everyone else.
Probably.
Yeah, but it's usually on Saturday one's all right, one isn't, and then it just both ends up going backwards.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to the Circuit of the Americas this weekend, firstly, have fun. But if you're going as a Haas fan, I do feel
You
a bit
won't
sorry
have
for
fun.
you.
Don't pack your expectations because they will be dashed.
Yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for you if you're going there to support the home race team. But hopefully they have a better weekend.
Yeah.
Although none of us can really see it happening.
Nope.
Right, predictions. I've got Dan's here that he sent through earlier, and he is going for a Hamilton win, Vettel second, and Leclerc third. Who wants to step up next?
I will. I will go Hamilton win, Bottas second, Verstappen third.
Type it properly, so just type it bit.
No, no bit.
No bit.
No bit.
Verstappen third. Okay.
Hamilton, Vettel, Bottas.
Hamilton, Vettel.
I'm sure you said Mercedes 1-2 a minute ago.
Yeah, no, I just weighed Vettel and Bottas up in my head.
They've got scales for that at the circuit.
Yeah. And Leclerc will be a mobile sprinkler system again.
I am going for a Bottas win, Hamilton second, and Vettel third. Chris,
Which is exactly what I was going to go for. Bottas, Hamilton, Vettel.
you can go for exactly the same.
Yeah.
Bottas, Hamilton, and Vettel. Right, okay, they are locked in. I'm sending them to all of us.
Yeah, but I think that Bottas, he's got to go all out and try and win the race, hasn't he?
I
Hamilton,
think-
I think, would be quite happy to just let him go.
I think you've made a mistake because I think if Bottas is in the position to win that Grand Prix and the fact he's not going to win a world championship, I think he will be engineered out of Lewis Hamilton's way so he wins the race and wins the championship.
It would be good for the sport if Hamilton wins the world championship
It would
in
be
America.
good for Mercedes, with America being a target market to sell cars to as well.
Yeah.
We do have a guest predictor as usual this week, and this week it is one of our listeners, Amos Menin, who brought
Amos.
who brought his name from the 18th century. He is going for a Hamilton win, Leclerc second, Verstappen third. An extra Rockstar and Wanker prediction. Rockstar, the meow guy from last year, will
no,
make a
that guy is a
reappearance.
wanker. No.
And Wanker, lap one, first sector overconfidence, cough, Grosjean.
Oh, wow. That's you can't argue with that.
No, not at all.
Obviously, if you want to do your own predictions, go to the website, threelegs4wheels.com,
And predict away.
click on the game section and go on to the prediction league. Put your top three in there, and you can also do fastest lap and pole, and you've got until 5 minutes before qualifying starts, which at the moment is 5 to 9 UK time on Saturday. But obviously, if it pisses it down, we'll extend it.
Yes.
Do we have any news?
I'm just actually checking up on the Miami situation.
Because that was supposed to be decided today.
That was
It would
supposed to be
appear
decided today.
a memorandum for tomorrow has now been released, so it looks like that might be happening tomorrow.
Right. Are we thinking jump cut tomorrow,
I think
Tuesday
there might
news?
be a jump cut, possibly
There's going to
around
have to be a
about
jump
now,
cut.
to be
There's
honest.
going to have to be a jump cut anyway because I haven't done Formula
I'll tell you what,
Lee
should we
yet.
do the jump cut for the news of Formula Lee now, and then we can do Total Shunt to finish off with?
In that case, that is where the jump cut's going. Hang on. And as it turns out, there wasn't actually any news on Tuesday. However, quick Formula Lee update. It was Mexico in the dry in a Renault. Just got time to drop the top three in here. Third place was Alessandro Popolani, 1:15.959. Second place, Chris Olby, 1:15.742. And the winner this week was Carl Toomey, 1:15.542. If you want to see all the results, see where you came, then just go to threelegs4wheels.com/formula-lee-2019. And the USA Challenge is going to be, of course, it's going to be in a Haas, isn't it? And it's going to be in the dry. And you have until Monday the 4th, 7 o'clock UK time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, to get everything into us. Right, back to whatever it was we were doing. Sorry to everyone that's listening on headphones on YouTube. That'll be edited out on, or that will have been edited out on the audio version.
As your hearing comes back, Paul just apologised.
So that was Formula Lee earlier than normal.
Yeah.
Let's shunt it.
This one has been sent in from my brother from another mother, maybe the same mother because we've got the same surname.
Will Stevens?
Taylor Stevens.
Oh, Taylor
I
Stevens.
don't know if it's Taylor or Tyler. It's one of those
Okay.
things. Yeah, one of those Swifty type names. And yeah,
Have you been taking me lessons or something here?
Always the political correctness man, Lee. Well done.
yeah, and I mentioned the fact that I had to do his because we might be vaguely related, and he said, "Great, that means I might be vaguely related to George Russell." So I said, to be fair, being able to name drop George Russell's probably a better flex than being able to name drop me.
For now.
Now,
Can't argue with that. For now.
I was born.
Yay.
Yes.
Oh, I've just thought everyone's fucked in the chat, aren't they?
Are they?
They had good fun. They had good fun last time, didn't they?
Oh.
And they've just got Sean that's about to ruin it for
Yeah.
them.
I was
Yeah,
born.
yeah.
Sean's just answered it.
Yeah, see if Sean's on the chat with the people who are watching on YouTube, yeah, see if you can get it quicker than Sean.
Yeah, I was
The,
born.
the only person to get it quicker than Sean in total shunt history is sat in this room.
That's true. I am a surprising expert on Burnt Maylander.
I need to point something out as well because we spoke about this here. There is a separate rule for this one.
Oh, okay.
Look, what
A
the fuck is this shit?
like
Special rule.
Yeah, special rule. Think of it as like some sort of WWE blow off match where you have a special stipulation. But I can't tell you what it is. But if somebody violates the rule, you're instantly disqualified.
All right.
Right. Okay. So nobody look at their phone.
This sounds a lot like Vince McMahon or Bernie Ecclestone. Let's be honest. Let's put a rule in for a race and not tell anyone about
Yes.
it. When
also
did that
double-
rule come in?
Let's
also
decide
double
that something.
points.
Let's decide that something contravenes the technical regulations and not the sporting
I
regulations.
should have
Yes.
started it from the last question.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
born.
I was born in 1968.
Okay, so that make you 51 this
51
year.
this year.
Makes them 1 year older than Michael Schumacher.
Correct.
I have dual citizenship.
That
So
rule-
not Nico
I was going to say
Rosberg.
that rules out Rosberg.
And that's where Sean chimes in
Yeah.
with the answer.
Paul and Sean are now eliminated from the competition. That was the thing was, if you wouldn't mind banning anyone that makes a Rosberg joke after
That's
the second
the
clue.
entire premise of the
My
podcast.
my money's on Paul blurting it out, but who knows?
Which is purely down to me then.
No, we're not going to shut up, are we? Let's be honest.
No, we're ignoring the black flags.
No.
Michael Schumacher ignored the black flags once, and look what happened to him.
Right. Yeah, I have dual citizenship.
Okay.
I got on the podium in my second race. I competed in. Sorry. Second race.
A bit too young for Jean Alesi because I'm sure he's got dual French and Italian citizenship, but I think he's older than 51.
Possible. Although, if we're looking for someone around about the Schumacher age, he was racing at a similar time, so it
But I
wouldn't be
think
the
Alesi
worst.
had been going a few years. Alesi sort of came
Alesi's
in,
first season was 89, I think.
so
Nah.
he had a couple of years on Schumacher.
Fair enough.
Schumacher's first full year was 90. Well,
Two.
92 was his first full year.
Um,
Jean Alesi's not a terrible shout.
Yeah, I've not got anything better.
well,
How old's Alex Wirtz?
I don't think that old.
Wirtz-
I think
Wirtz is,
mid-40s.
Wirtz is younger than me.
Okay.
I always take my age as the benchmark 'cause I was born in 1970, so 1970,
I
not
was just going to say
18.
so at most things.
70.
Alesi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
Jean
the
that's
Alesi.
absence
all
of a
we've got
more
for now.
sensible shout.
I came 8th in my first championship.
Okay.
yeah.
My second season was struck with tragedy. However, in my third season, I got pole in 2 Grand Prix.
So, if it's someone who's a similar kind of age to Schumacher and their second season was struck with tragedy, I think we can probably assume that was 94.
Eddie Irvine.
Exciting, yes. Reasonable.
Podium in his second race.
Dual citizenship would...
Irish and
Irish.
Yeah,
British.
yeah, that would work.
My only win was at the circuit now known
no.
as the Red Bull Ring.
It wouldn't be
Okay.
his only win, would it? Eddie Irvine won quite a
He
few
won
races.
a few races and was damn near world champion.
And he would have got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling Ferrari
random
kids.
winners.
Jean Alesi did only win one race, didn't he?
Canada 95.
Bugger.
Oh, that ruins that.
Is that known as the Red Moose Ring?
No.
I'd like a guess.
The Red Beaver
Oh
Ring?
shit! You want to guess? No.
Sounds
sorry.
horrible.
Can you please repeat that last clue?
My only win was in the circuit now called the Red Bull Ring.
So it was called the A1
It would
ring.
have been the A1 ring then, wouldn't it? Mid-90s.
Well, it came 97, I think, was the first year of the A1 ring.
That
I think-
would have been a
Okay,
better
yeah.
way to word that
and
question.
and I think they binned it off 2004, 2003,
Okay.
possibly.
When did it change from the Airstrike ring to the A1 ring? Because
It was the A1 ring when it came back in 97.
right,
It had been away since like 85, 86, something
right.
like
I
that.
couldn't remember if there was. If
To
there'd been
be
like
fair, I don't think we specified A1 ring. It's just
No,
now
it's just-
known as Red Bull ring.
so my only win was in Austria.
Yes. It's a really complicated way of saying this.
But if they were born in 1968, then chances are they wouldn't have been racing in 1984, 1985.
Unlikely.
Did Mika Salo step in at Ferrari for a while?
When Schumacher broke his leg in 99.
So roughly around about I don't know.
Yeah,
If
he was a bit pants though, wasn't
Gonna
he?
have to hurry here because I'm getting bored.
you want to guess?
And Mika Salo is massively finished, nothing else.
Okay.
Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, it's
but-
not.
it's not.
It's not, but
Although under a different name, Graham Hill drove the same car as me one year. I'm going to say, because I think it's only fair, I believe that clue is worded
Incorrectly.
deceptively.
Right.
Not to the point of being a trick question,
Okay.
but not to the point of being a straight down the line, honest as the day is, long question.
under a different name. Right, okay. So, Graham Hill did drive for Shadow, which became Arrows,
Right.
which became Footwork, which became Arrows again. Arrows never had a win, though.
What did they
But-
become after that? Or they
Bankrupt.
Just fold? Yeah, they were one of those.
TWR arrows.
But I'm just trying to think Arrows drivers. Frentzen, but he won more than... No!
Frenton only win one race.
I think he did.
That would have been 97.
Oh no, sorry, he did win some for Jordan as well. He only won one
Outside
for
for a
Williams.
championship for Jordan as well.
Yeah, so no,
Did you-
that rules Frentzen out. Let's have the next clue.
Before F1, I raced in the Can-Am series, in it,
Yeah.
where I won one championship.
I mean, Can-Am was like a big sports car series that went under.
Sean has no clue so far.
What?
Repeat, no clue.
Is he on a delay?
Yeah, he will be.
He's listening to it now.
Uh-huh.
Which means he's now listening to that now.
Oh no, he's
Tell
going
you what,
to
give-
get
give-
stuck on a
now
loop.
Now
He's stuck on a
now
loop.
can we have the next clue?
Yes. One of my cars was copied by another team before a court order banned that team from racing their version.
This is Arrows and Footwork and Shadow related because Arrows copied the original Shadow when they started and it got banned and they had to make another chassis.
Right. Who would have been involved driver-wise in this
Yeah,
debacle?
God.
What year? What
Weren't
year? are we on?
Arrows a dual nationality racing team?
They were Japanese at one point when they were Footwork
Yeah.
and British. It might just...
Might
reckon
be
it might be a
Arrows.
It might
team.
be. It might be. But Arrows never won. Arrows never had a win.
We all know the closest they came, and let's shh about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Oh, one out the dead homie. that being a washer.
Next clue.
Last clue.
Last clue.
good
Is there a
Lord.
spaffer after this?
Yes, but I'm not using it. After 7 and a bit seasons, my sponsors dried up and I was forced to stop racing. Sad times.
It is Arrows. Because they went halfway through a season.
Fair enough. I
It
have
was
no
Orange,
advance
wasn't it?
on
It was
that.
their last sponsor.
Yeah.
And Orange pulled out because they were in trouble financially.
Yeah. They had Zepter at one point, which everyone just knows from the inside of the tunnel in Monaco.
Is that the pan thing?
The pots and pans
Yeah.
where I photoshopped the Steele's pots and pans logo onto it.
Did Arrows win anything?
I'm sure they didn't. But that's the only thing I can think of because that fits in with everything else. If he's not going to give us a spaffer, that's the best I've got.
I think he's going to have to give us a spaffer because
I
let's
can't
be
give the
honest, we've
spaffer.
not got a huge else thing
Do
going on.
you know
here.
why? Because the spaffer's going to be Damon Hill nearly won a race in me.
Ah,
Shall we go? Shall we go for it?
Yeah, whatever.
Are you Arrows?
I'm Shadow.
oh,
The other ones. I was so
See, I
close.
couldn't give you the spaffer because the spaffer was, although I'm dark, you can still see me. Shadow in it, I suppose.
That was good, and damn it,
Yeah.
that was a great one. How do you submit a shunt?
You can tweet me at a total shunt in a private message, or you can send me a private message on Instagram, as people have started doing.
And you can always send them to 3legsforwheels@gmail.com, which is the general address for getting in touch with us anyway. And if you want to get in touch with the show as a whole, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at 3legs4wheels.
Yeah.
And individually, we are
At Flood21.
at Sean Cowper.
at Pablo100, and Dan is at Dan Dankleton. Also, if you want to join in with the Patreon show that we do every week, then go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels. You can subscribe to that for as little as $1 a month, and everything goes towards making the podcast. And we just want to say that those that are capable of growing moustaches, we are doing Movember this year, so we'll put the link out for that if you want to donate to the charities that are supporting men's health. And we're all going to look like unique individuals over the month of November when the 4 of us grow tashes. Not
Very
Sean,
unique.
You
but
will
Dan is growing a tash
I'll
as
do
well.
the 60 kilometres instead.
People will be furious with my moustache.
Oh, no, you're not gonna. We will be back next week. There might be an extra show in the meantime, if schedules allow, from Austin of all places. Who'd have thought?
It's a strong possibility.
It's a strong possibility.
Strong possibility.
So we may see you later on in the week, but we'll definitely be back next week with a review of the US Grand Prix and probably saying about the new world champion as well.
Well,
I'd imagine so.
we
We're going to go and hang out in the
existing
chat for a bit.
We're going to go and hang out on the YouTube chat. So if you are watching this on YouTube, stick around. If you're listening to this on the audio, well, have a look on YouTube and see what we were talking about after the show had finished. But we'll see you next week.
I'm going to give the pumpkin a cam for the YouTube show. We now have pumpkin cam.
And we'll see you.
Pumpkin can.
Nice.
Have you stopped recording? See you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.